Hi, this is Jackie Cambridge from Cambridge Safety. Welcome to one of our presentations to support you during one of your NEBOSH health and safety qualifications. In this particular short video, we're going to talk about workplace stress. In this particular video, we're going to have a look at workplace stress, some of the causes that contribute to it, the effects on the individual and the employer, and the practical things that employers can do to reduce the risk. So stress, we've got a definition here. It's from the Health and Safety Executive. It's just there are a couple of different definitions that they use. This is the one I've chosen. Stress, the adverse reaction people have to excessive pressure or other types of demands placed upon them. Pressure sometimes is good. It gives us a sense of achievement. It motivates and drives us. But if you're under pressure all of the time, and you're a bit like that hamster on that little wheel, you're going round and round and round, but you just don't feel, despite your best efforts, you're not getting anywhere. That's when then that pressure can put an adverse reaction to you as a human and then result in stress. And stress might result in some physical symptoms or some psychological, behavioural and mental ones as well. Okay, so stress is a reasonably modern phenomenon. Stress is not an illness, but it's a reaction, and the reaction can then lead to physical or mental ill health. So we're going to have a look at workplace stress. So think of the things in relation to work that can cause stress. And there may be things that have happened to you in the last year since the COVID outbreak, which again, from a workplace perspective, will put us under different types of stress. Okay, so have a think for a second. What sort of things can result in you being under pressure at work, which can then affect your health? It might be you want to do the right job and a good job, but you haven't got the right skills that you need. Perhaps you haven't had the training. Working too many hours, and despite working those hours, not feeling that you're actually getting your job done. Equally, sometimes finding a job too easy can be as stressful as a job that you can't cope with, because then you get bored and then your sort of brain does different things while you're trying to react to it. Perhaps lack of recognition from a manager, not feeling that your organisation appreciates you. It doesn't cost any money when someone says thank you or well done. Makes you feel a lot better. But if you don't get that recognition, again, you're on your hamster wheel, you're just ploughing away, doing the best that you can, but not getting any recognition for that. It can be lack of responsibility. You want to do something, but you have to go to somebody else, who goes to somebody else, who goes to a committee before anyone is allowed to actually take action. Lack of autonomy. Again, you're not able to make decisions yourself. You've got to go to other people, maybe wait for them. And that can be difficult, but sometimes when you're in the middle trying to get something done, and then you have to keep relying on other people, other groups in the organisation to make things happen. In view of what's happening at the moment, it could be that you've been made redundant, or the threat of redundancy, organisational change. You might have a change to your life. You might be working at home now, whereas once upon a time you were working in the office. You haven't got that communication. You haven't got those other people to bounce ideas off. You can feel alone and very lonely if you're just working from home. So these sorts of things can result in that pressure. So this could be you, this could be colleagues. What signs and symptoms? And I've used the first aid terminology. So symptoms is what a person might feel. Signs is perhaps what you might see. So if someone's suffering from workplace stress, what sort of signs and symptoms might you see? Just have a think for a minute. Signs and symptoms. You might see somebody who's normally very smart. Their personal appearance might change. They might start being late for work. They might start being, it could be their personality changes. They become very introvert, or equally very sort of snappy or aggressive. It could be the work that they do for you actually deteriorates. Somebody who's usually producing quality, someone who's usually producing good quality work is now making lots of mistakes or errors. They might be off work, but for sort of no specific reason. You might see signs of alcohol abuse or drug taking as well. There's a variety of things that you might see in a person, or that they might feel. They might feel more anxious. Everybody's a little bit different. One type of person might become very introvert, another type of person might become very loud. People react in different ways, but perhaps the main thing is that they act in a different way than perhaps you would expect and you know from your past experience. Are cases of stress reportable under Riddle? So stress is not a recognised medical condition. That doesn't stop it being used on medical certificates, but it's not a recognised medical condition. It does lead to medical recognised conditions such as anxiety, people having mental breakdowns, anorexia, etc. But in itself, stress is not reportable. The majority of cases of stress are not going to be automatically reportable under Riddle. There are a few exceptions. If someone has been subject to a violent attack at work and then that has resulted with them having stress or anxiety or depression, then that would be reportable potentially if they then take over 7 days off, or they actually had an injury, or it was a occupational disease. But in normal run-of-the-mill things, cases of stress are not reportable because it's not a recognised medical condition. But under Riddle, you have injuries, diseases and dangerous occurrences. So they would need to have one of those, which has either been resulted from the stress or have led to the stress. So instances of stress are not automatically reportable under the Riddle regulations. The only thing that we've got different for stress is the Health and Safety Executive publish 6 what they call stress management standards. And what the HSE did, they carried out some research and said, what are the typical things that put people under stress at work? And they identified unrealistic demands, lack of control, unclear roles, lack of support, management and organisational change, and work relationships as the groups, the headings that might result in stress. So then what the Health and Safety Executive did was take each of those headings, give us some examples of things that might result in stress, and then turn it around and give us some practical control measures. And you can download the HSE stress management standards, or you'll find them on our online resources if you've got access to those, but you can download them. And they've got several publications on managing the risks of stress, which use those stress management standard headings. And all the documents you'll see from the Health and Safety Executive, they're all really, really good stuff. But when you read them, there's nothing in there that you go, oh, wow, that's innovative. All they really are just about good management. So if you've got unrealistic demands, it's making sure the demands are realistic, targets are achievable. Lack of control will allow people to be involved, consult, cooperate. Unclear role, make sure we've got job descriptions, make sure we train people, we inform them. So you go through all of the things, it's all about communication, cooperation, consultation, all really good stuff, but nothing that you think, oh, I've never heard of that before. So managing the risks of stress is about an organisation and its managers just managing effectively. If we don't manage it effectively, we have the individual signs and symptoms, and that can lead to problems with the organisation, because if you've got a lot of staff who are suffering from stress, they're not concentrating and able to do their job effectively. That might lead to accidents, it might lead to your quality of your product or your customer experience deteriorating as well. So in terms of the stress standards, have a quick look at those, and then when you'll have a look, you'll look at some of the control measures and just see if there's any additional things that you can do that could reduce the risks. So in terms of specific law, as I've mentioned, we haven't got any specific law on stress. It's the Health and Safety at Work Act, Section 2, the duty to ensure the health, safety and welfare of my employees so far as is reasonably practicable, to provide a safe place of work, safe working environment, safe systems of work. Then we've got the management of health and safety at work regs, carry out suitable and sufficient risk assessment, take steps to control it, and then it's supported by the HSE stress management standards, but they are not legally enforceable. They are just standards. They're even lower than a guidance note, but they are all good stuff. Lots of good free resources from the HSE are available. So if we then just turn that around, okay, if we have got stress, practical things that we can do as an employer to reduce stress levels in the workplace. Ensure people are trained, not in stress, but in the jobs, in the use of the equipment. You can do stress management awareness, but it's basically giving people the skills that they need. Make sure our objectives are realistic. Yes, challenging, but people can achieve them. Giving feedback. Feedback is not criticism. Feedback is giving people an opportunity to improve, but giving them the feedback on the things that they've done that's good as well. Involvement, consultation. If people feel part of something and they can contribute, they're more likely to take those changes on board. Good communication, not finding out something via the grapevine. Encouraging teamwork, where people work together. It's a lot better, you get better results, people can talk to other people, there's autonomy, responsibility, etc. Team working is a good motivational approach. Make sure we've got adequate support. Make sure there are support mechanisms. It doesn't necessarily have to be formal counselling. It can just be someone else that they can go to, another member of the team. So again, if you've got team working where people then work together, automatically that support mechanism is there. If someone's new to a job or just got promoted, you might have mentoring where they've got a more senior person, but that they can go to and just chat to. Might be counselling via occupational health, or even referrals to specific specialist counsellors. But sometimes it's just having someone that you can talk to, talk problems through, get something done about it. From a health and safety perspective, it's about treating this like any accident, incident or near miss. Investigate why, what's actually causing the stress, what's the root cause, do something about that. If it's our organisation has a blame culture, if we can deal with that, then automatically the stress levels are going to get lower. So we've had a quick potty tour around stress management. Hope that's been useful for you. Thanks very much.